pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, could you call the roll? Before we start our council meeting, we have a presentation by the South Bay City's Council of Governments, the South Bay Environmental Services Center, and Southern California Edison. Please. Marilyn.
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor and council members. I'm Marilyn Lyon with South Bay City's Council of Governments and the Environmental Services Center. I'm here today with our partner, Edison. Mark Olson's here, and we're here to present you with your gold certificate for Energy Leader Partnership Program that your city is leading by example to your businesses, to your residents by saving energy right here in your own facilities. And you have managed to save over 540,000 kilowatt hours, and that adds up to a very nice incentive check. And we brought a jumbo check today so we can take a photo with you for $59,444. So it does pay to save energy. I would also like to very much thank you for working with your staff. Your staff has just been terrific. I'd like to name a few: Mr. Louis Atwell, Danita Mashak,
Hey, Louis.
Harry Frisbee, and Victor Nunez. And they work together with our team of Damon Hanneman from Edison and Greg Stevens, our COG engineer. And then I'd like to, at this time, introduce you to a new member of our team. Miss Lena Luna is our Energy Environmental Specialist, and she'll be working with you on your EMIS program and your Energy Action Plan. So if you would join us now, we'd like to take a picture. Oh, and I think Mark has some words to say. Sorry.
Mark, you say your words first.
Oh, you want me to say my words first?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mark Olson from Edison. As you know, Marvin Jackman is responsible for Inglewood, but he's on special assignment. So I've been with the city for about 5 months, and he's coming back. He'll be back next week. So this is a great way to end my short time with Inglewood, and thank you for all of the cooperation and welcomes on this. I also have our Edison Emergency Guide for Public Officials that I'll give the city clerk for the city council and management. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mark.
Reliable, right? They can't do with me to eat their food.
Hi, how are you?
Any persons wishing to address the city council on any item on today's agenda may do so at this time.
Gil Matthew, District 4, Mayor and City Council. I want to speak on payment of the bills. And what I'm requesting is, I'm concerned about the condition of the city, particularly concerning the financial condition of the city and what I've recently received. The letters that being sent by the Department of Finance. And what I might remind you is we need some transparency on the part of this council. I mean, despite what you believe, these are public documents, and it's not confidential information, it is public information. And it is available to any resident of this city who wants to find out what is actually going on financially. But yet we can't get any of you to comment on it whatsoever. So the only thing I can do is go public. I hesitate to do that, but I have no choice because this is information that residents should know. The city is in financial condition at this time is precarious. And the concern I have is how it's going to affect the general fund. It makes no difference if 172 cities are in the same boat. I'm not concerned with that. I'm concerned with one, the city of Inglewood. I have the letters sent to Ms. Cruz. It's not very encouraging. I have the results of the hearing on the petition for writ of mandate. That's not encouraging. So my question is this: when are you going to have a meeting of the successor agency publicly for the residents of this city? It need not be televised. And I hope to God it's not televised. And I'm telling you, Council, you have a fiduciary duty mandated by the state to divulge these things. Now, every time you go to Sacramento, meet and confer, it's costing this city money. You are not winning. Now, it's noble to fight, it's noble not to roll over, and all of that's noble. But the bottom line is, we're not in a position to be able to absorb this litigation fees. And at some point, it's not going to be paid with redevelopment. So I'm putting you on notice
Thank you, Mr.
that
Matthew.
we have to change.
Thank you, Mr. Matthew.
Roy Fisher, the First District. I'm here this afternoon to talk to you them about this farmer's market that you them supposedly want in the city, but you're not doing anything to get it. My son, sent you a letter with regard to the farmer's market, the Fox Hills Ladera Family Healthy Association, which he heads. He went through all the paperwork with regard to the farmer's market. You said last week, when I asked Mr. Fields about the farmer's market, they were proposing to reject it. There was no reason to reject it. There is no reason to reject it. You know, you put criteria up for bids. That criteria was followed. You know, to me, there is a perception, you know, in my heart that there is a favoritism of this staff and this city with regard to that issue. You know, Steve submitted all the information that you needed. You know, he's talked to many of you on that council, you know, and there was no reason for you to reject those bids, you know, and start all over. You know, if you were going to, you know, you could have just, you know, gone on from there without rejecting the bids and starting all over. You know, you can't continue to run and hide behind the skirts of certain people in this city by sending out stupid information about what he should have done. You know, he knows what he should have done, and he did it. You know, you them keep doing little Mickey Mouse things with regard to even the vendors that did not show up. You know, you guys run around and call people to get them out there. And even after you did that, with the one walkthrough that you had, you know, you decided to cancel this thing. He sent this letter to you all. I hope that you all have read it. You know, if you haven't, you know, you should have. And, you know, as to the staff, you know, telling him that he should follow certain procurements, he did that. You know, he didn't need anybody to tell him what else he should have done. He did what he was supposed to do. And you them talk about you want something positive for the city, then do something positive for the city. You're not doing anything for the city but sticking money in your own pockets, and it's a damn shame. And that's my report to you all.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon, council members. You just heard two people tell you stuff you probably didn't want to hear. That's life when you don't listen when we try to reach out to you personally and quietly. You end up having to deal with us in front of your face on this dais because many of you have refused to return phone calls, insulted us publicly, been unkind privately, and you worry about your image. Your image is the one that you created of unkindness toward the long-term residents of this community. You know, as I read the staff report, you're punishing someone because your staff did not get around to doing something. Yeah, they didn't get around in 60 days. And because someone else then, who has worked on several of your personal campaigns, now wants to participate, how does not that smack of favoritism? Oh, isn't that a cute wrinkled face? Too bad it doesn't work for those of us who know that you can go from laughter to tears and back to laughter again so quickly. So save it. It is unfortunate that you play on the residents of this community for your own benefit, and that is clearly what we see. As I look at both item number 3, which is the farmer's market goodie, I just think, my goodness, residents have been asking for that for close to at least 15 years that I know of, and probably before that because I don't buy groceries and I don't really worry about it. But those who do have families, and those who are about organic food, and those who do care about all the grocery adventures have been asking for over 15 years for this. Now someone submits a bid, and guess what? Someone doesn't have time to get around to it in 60 days. So you cancel it and then go out again. How unfortunate. With regard to the raising of the rates for Hollywood Park tomorrow, I think it's kind of interesting that you're using a cost of living index there, or consumer price index rather. But you know what? Again, how much is that going to cost the residents of this community when you're worried about the site, the signalization on La Brea, when in fact Manchester is ridiculous. You can't get past one green light because the next one is red. You can't get to the next one because the next one is red. If in fact you're worried about synchronizing signals, it should be coordinated throughout, not just one street at a time. But that'd be like, well, kind of hard to do because some of you only think in segments rather than a community because you work so hard to break us into segments, to pitch people against each other. And you can't figure out why you're seen as a negative force in this community? Amazing.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Good afternoon. My name is James Braid. I'm in District 1. My councilman didn't start kind of holding his herd down because he know when I come up here, it's going to be something said that maybe it's not correct to you, but it's correct. This new job we got started called Hollywood Park, you got rid of it. So now we got to get rid of the stuff that's in it, such as asbestos and other. They got a big word for that material, you know, because it gives off cancer and stuff like that. And I was wondering, could the mayor kind of help me, you know, you see like a big thing, to get one of them jobs over there right away before they get filled, see. I did everything properly by paperwork, but as I noticed, there's people on the job that are not living in Inglewood. I've been doing construction now for about 45 years, and you say, oh man, why don't you go sit down? I'll tell you just like another guy told me. He said they just now start paying good money. So appreciate it if by the time I get home, that when you guys could get on the phone and say, y'all know a guy by the name of James Burke? And they're going to say, yeah. If you give him a job, I'd almost pay his wages. That's what they're going to say. Now let's get down to the real nitty gritty. This garden business. If some of these old people, or older people, or these young people that don't know how to plant a garden, I'll help them. I'll give them my tomatoes. I will give them my potatoes myself. But I cannot see that the President of the United States is letting his wife grow a garden at the Capitol, which they're going to tear up once he leaves. And y'all won't let people in Inglewood here have vegetable place to go buy vegetables. I'm talking about that don't have that poison on them. See, I grow my own. I give it to some of the people in the city here. I ask them, do they want some tomatoes and bell peppers and stuff like that, and I give it to them. And it don't have that foreign matter in it that make them get larger. You know, I go out there to Corona. They got dairies out there. Get all you want. The manure, they call it, has not been processed. And don't watch the clock. I ain't gonna let it pass. But I really wish you'd fix it so young people here in Inglewood could get some of these jobs. It's easy, because I've been trying on 4 different mayors to get a school started to teach them an electrical, pipe fitting, heavy equipment operator. And the other day, I pulled my resume and I started reading it. Little print. I said, what? I did this? What year was that? You know.
Close public comment. Item 1, CSA 1, and open the Housing Authority,
Quorum is present.
and H1.
Move allow payment. Second.
Madam City Clerk.
Council and agency members, Dotson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Chairman Buds.
Aye. Item 2, CSA 2, the successor agency is open as well. H2, and open the Finance Authority, and F1. Is quorum present?
Finance, we're going, quorum is present for finance.
Move approval.
Madam City Clerk.
Council members, council and agency members, Dotson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Buds, Mayor Chairman Buds.
Aye. Consent calendar items 3 and 4.
I so move.
Second.
Madam City Clerk.
Council members Dodson,
Aye.
Padilla,
Aye.
Morales,
Aye.
Franklin. Mayor Buds.
Aye. DR1.
Staff report recommending adoption of a resolution modifying the city's development fees applicable to the Hollywood Park Tomorrow project by the Consumer Price Index pursuant to the development agreement adopted by the city ordinance number 0914 on July 8th, 2009.
Move items 1 and 2.
Second.
Madam City Clerk.
Council members Dodson,
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales,
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye. A1.
Thank you, Mayor. As to CS1 was a closed session regarding conference with the labor negotiator with the various bargaining groups for the city of Inglewood. The negotiators for the city are Artie Phil, city manager, and Jack Hoffman, chief negotiator, human resource consultant. Discussions held, direction given to staff. CS2 was a closed session regarding the case of Garcia Perez versus the city of Inglewood. On that, there's a request for a motion to authorize settlement.
So moved.
Second.
Madam City Clerk.
Council members Dodson,
Aye.
Padilla,
Aye.
Morales,
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye. A2.
Thank you, Mayor. As to A2, there's no verbal reports by the city attorney.
CM1. Yes.
CC1?
No, CM1.
CM1? Oh, that's the.
Mr. City Manager.
There's no oral reports for today.
You did that well. CC1.
Thank you, Mayor. Last week, I had mentioned that I was going to share something with you. And the council, you know, they sit here and they hear a lot of stuff all the time. You guys hear a lot of negative stuff sometimes. And I have something I want to play for you that's really cute and positive, and it's good for everybody. It's a little, it comes off a little slow because it's a 4-year-old. Sure, let me see if it's. But I want you to hear this. The world is a beautiful place.
The world is a rainbow with many kinds of people. Rock. The world is a rainbow with many kinds of colors. Black and white and brown, and see them all around. Now you be you and I be me. That's the way it was meant to be. The world is a mixing cup. Just look what happens when you stir it up. Do, do, do. The world is a rainbow with many kinds of people. Takes all kinds of people to make the world go round. Now you be you and I be me. That's the way it was meant to be. The world is a mixing cup. Just look what happens when you stir it up. Do, do, do. The world is a rainbow with many kinds of people.
What about when we
Work together is such a sight to see. The world is beautiful when we live in harmony. The world is rainbow.
That's what I want you to hear. This is the future. Positive. Thank you.
CT1. Madam City Treasurer.
Not to be outdone, I'll have to have the recordings of my 5 grandchildren next week. That was pretty good. Well, I'd just like to report that didn't make any investments for the last couple of weeks. The rates have continued to be very, very low. Even the state with their $60 billion pool, their rates is at 0.24. That's their daily, and their year-to-date is only 0.25. And all of the rates from years 1 through 5 are very, very low. Also would like to point out that the bills that was paid for the month of January was 10.2 million, and the net payroll was 3.9, and the total for the month was 14.1. And for February, the total bills paid is 12.2, and that's the total bills. Don't have the payroll. And also with regards to the CalPERS, as I mentioned last week, CalPERS have had more than like a $56 billion loss, and they will be passing those laws, have already started passing those laws on to the cities and state and counties and other agencies that contribute to them. In 2006, our contribution was 10 million, 2007, 10 million, to the fiscal year 8-9 was 11.6, 9-10, 10.9, fiscal year 10-11, 11.4, fiscal year 11-5 is 12.5, 12-13, 12.7. So it is definitely going up due to their tremendous losses that they are passing on to the cities and other entities. Also, I'd like to point out the FDIC bank failures. Had 5 banks that have failed thus far this year, 2014. And the total assets of these banks have been $740 million. And the loss to the FDIC has been $92.3 million. So those 2 banks that was shut down in February 28th in Virginia and Pennsylvania with assets totaling $193 million. And the loss to the FDIC is 16.2. And we still have the outstanding TARP money that has not been paid, primarily has been the smaller banks. It stands still at $11 billion. And that concludes my report. But I'd also like to say a special thank you to Councilman Dodson. I forgot to mention last week regarding the documents destruction that he held, because I had a number of documents that I took over. So certainly appreciate that. I think they had more than 300 people that turned out for that event. And I think it's the second time that Councilman Dodson has held that event. So hopefully you'll be having it again, because I have 3 trash bins more to bring. That concludes my remarks and my comments.
Thank you, Madam City Treasurer. Any persons wishing to address City Council on any matter connected with city business not elsewhere considered on the agenda may do so at this time.
I'm going to go back to you with regard to that healthy foods in the city of Inglewood. I can remember not long ago when Mrs. Obama came here, and she was down in the 4th District to a market that hadn't been opened, and you talked to her about not having healthy foods here for residents of the city. You know, you had an opportunity again to have that happen. You know, maybe Mrs. Obama should be aware of what you people really are about here in this city. You're not about too much with regard to the people of this city. I was listening to a meeting here last week with regard to Councilman Franklin in the 4th District, and you talked about the roads up there on the hill up where Mr. Matthew lives, and Mr. Matthew has been after you dug the trench for the water lines and the sewer lines to cover up the streets properly. I heard you say last week that you intended, you know, to finish resurfacing those streets. You know, I am kind of dismayed about that, because if you do it in the 4th District, you know, it seems to me that all over the city where they dug up these streets and still have holes all in the streets in the 1st District that are causing damage to people's cars that haven't been resurfaced, other than to put a little line down where they dug the holes in. So if you can do it for one, the rest of you all up there ought to be looking out for your residents in the areas, and especially in the 1st District, because those lousy streets are terrible there even before they dug the streets up, you know, for all the little potholes that you run around fixing. Even the lousy sidewalks, instead of repairing the sidewalks, they take black tar and fill in certain holes within the area there. So, you know, it's time for you them to wake up and you know, get on your job and do what's right for this city, you know. With regard to other things going on in this city, I just feel so bad that we have a murder rate that's on its way up. We have residents or council people that work here, the mayor, and it's been suggested that your salaries are going up while you're getting rid of people in this city that could do the work for people here. It's a shame, it's a shame. It's I guess, very nice to get people to shred some papers for you, but that's a very little bit for the taxes we pay in this lousy city of ours.
Who suggested the council salaries are going up, Mr. Fisher?
I don't know,
Who suggested that?
Yeah, it was an argument that I heard.
That you heard, was there people attached to it, or were there voices?
Yes,
or-
I did.
There were voices?
If it's not so, then it's not so.
Okay,
If it is the fact,
you
then
glad
it
said
is.
it, you glad said it, it is not so. Go ahead, come on, Mr.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, and City staff. How are you doing? Good. I'm sure we have missing people that are positive at our night meetings that are not here, like Mr. Texera and the advocate for the Vietnam veterans. They're not here during the day, but at night we'll hear their blues and everything, but these people like to talk all crazy to us. But that's enough negative stuff from them. I would like to say something positive and maybe address some of this healthy food stuff we're talking about. California right now is going through a drought. Food has gone up in price. So if we have a farmer's market, we have to have fair pricing for the residents that are below the income line. So we're trying to be fair to them as well as for the city. So it's not that we've rejected the bids. We were trying to look out for our residents. I'm sure that's what it was. And as far as the crime rate going, a lot of murders going up, I don't see it. And if there are, please, the chief, I'm sure he will tell me, and we will resolve this problem with murders in our city. And I would just like to thank the council for putting their pictures in the police station. Thank you very much. Thank you. There's a very good welcome sign to businesses that are opening in the city. Since we have opened the forum, I have noticed around the city that there are a lot of businesses that are opening up. They may not be huge businesses, but they're businesses nonetheless. And as you know, any kind of business that comes into the city is a tax revenue for the city. It's a windfall for them as well as us. So I would just like to say to the mayor and the council, good job. Way to advertise your city. Keep the welcome sign out. Do all we can for all these new businesses. Hire more policemen. And just be positive in the way that we are welcoming new businesses and people coming to the city. Those are my comments, and thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. I'm still Diane Sembrano, and you know what? It is so amazing to me that there are so many of you who are just about singing the praises, 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 and more praises. It's as if one of you didn't get enough scrapbooking from your mommy when you were children. So now every time we open something, somebody has to go, oh, look, there he is. No, those of us who come to this podium week after week and read the staff reports and go out and find our own research, because it is public documents that impacts our lives. Care about this community because we've actually lived here, participated, and volunteer in it in a continuous way for multiple years. As much as many of you have been very unkind, this is still our community. And chances are, for those of you who come and go on, we'll still be here long after you're gone. Because unlike those who say if we don't like it, we ought to sell our property, it is ours. Many of us, many long hours to pay those payments so that it could become ours. We're not come and go through the neighborhood as renters or anything else. This is our community. Even some of our renters have been here for 35 and 40 years. To suggest that we don't care about our community is probably your own sentiment, but not ours. With regard to the individual volunteer efforts that we do, this is a business meeting for the city. not our nonprofit organizations. If you want to allocate a separate 3 minutes for us to sing our own praises, we'll get someone else to do that, because many of us do not believe that we should sit here and sing our own praises. I will make an exception one time and only one time. This week alone, I spoke to over 452 students with regard to the history of this community, 70 other adults in a Heritage Alliance, with at least 400 other people in attendance. That's not why this meeting takes place. That's my personal life, my personal hours, my personal devotion. If in fact I were to do that on a regular basis, somebody would probably accuse me of trying to run for one of your positions. And then we'd see all hell break loose from one of you. We're here about our community, and we care about it because it is running through our blood and our soul. And if you make bad decisions that impact us, many of you will just go on to the next job, because you are actually paid and you are accountable to us. You're the employees, not the other way around.
Gil Matthew, District 4 Mayor and City Council. Mr. Atwell has cleared up what is actually happening with the streets, despite what the councilman has said, and I understand it, okay? It's a matter of funding, and the water funds are depleted, we don't have any money. So just tell the truth, and I'm satisfied with that. And the thing I'm concerned about is the relationship between not having any money and the success agency and all the denials that we're getting. This is the court report. I'll share it with any councilman who's ready to meet after this meeting. We need the truth. And any of you councilmen, you got a code of silence where nobody can comment about the success agency. You've left the public out, and it's a waste of time with the Oversight Commission because we have no public input on what you're sending there, so it's a waste of resources. And I'm not going before the commission to down the city or challenge the city, but I have no input. And I go in, and the job is not being done. It's embarrassing. It's a waste of resources. Not asking for any secrets, but you got to be transparent, Mr. Mayor and Council. People would accept the truth, but tell the truth. Yes, we're in financial difficulty. Yes, I'm from New Orleans, okay? I've been to a city with a broke city and bright lights. It's still broke and it still has bright lights. In fact, today is a national holiday, it's Mardi Gras Day. Everybody's singing and dancing, everybody happy, but they're still broke. I do not want to see that happen to Inglewood. This is the second dance. The forum is not new. We've been through that before. That's not going to save us. You got to save yourself. You got to put your big boy pants on. There's nobody going to save you. The color is green. It's not about race. The color is green, folks. That's USA. And nobody's going to come here for free. But we got to have some mutual benefits. Don't give away the city if you haven't already. Timing is everything in life. This is what the court said. And the little Mickey Mouse defense we give him, you should have known better. It's a waste of legal fees. It's a total waste. It is a total waste. We're approaching 2.5% of the general fund in legal fees. It's a total waste. All I'm asking, meet with the people. It doesn't have to be televised. Let's use community room A.
Thank you, Mr. Matthew.
Put the cards on the table. What is.
Thank you, Mr. Matthew.
Good afternoon, City Council. My name is Carl Clark. I'm a student at Cal State Dominguez Hills. I was not sent here specifically, but this is a city that's close to mine. I'm a resident of LA, so I chose here to observe the City Council meeting. And it's funny, I have great respect for our political system, but what I'm hearing from the citizens is a little bit disturbing, especially about the farmers market. I'm originally from Jamaica, and I say that because I believe in natural food. I learned a lot in school about engineering of the food that they're giving the children now. And it's just disturbing to find out that you guys is refusing to allow a farmer's market in the area for the residents, to where I hope that you guys do something to accommodate them. I don't know what it is, but I hope you guys can do that for them. Also, passing through the city, I noticed the roads. I thank you guys for paving out La Brea. Century needs it. It's damaging cars, and it's not making, I could say, the youth or the younger generation have a positive view on the members that's in the city, to where typically I'm gonna say they would lean to the other side. I respect you guys for what you guys doing, because I know it's a lot of work, and I just hope that the respect is given back. Councilman Dootson, as I sat back there, I'm gonna tell you, it's a little bit funny. In class, they require our attention, and I feel like even with the citizens that are speaking, it's like whatever. To where the one thing I want to say is, remember, you're a citizen of the community, and you're going to be returned back there. So give everybody they do props. It seems like you have the least interest in what they're saying, and that's just my observation. And that's all I wanted to say to you guys.
Thank you. Close public comment. Council comments. Let's start with Councilman Franklin this time.
I want my other minute already. Let me first of all comment on some of the remarks that was made. I haven't heard anyone talk about we did not want a farmer's market in the city. There is a process. The process has not been completed. There was an RFP that went out. The time on which to take action expired. We're simply going to resubmit it again. This council has already approved for a farmer's market to be on the south side of City Hall, and there's conditions and responsibilities that have to be met, including liability issues, and so it will be going out again. And so we want people that desire to be involved in that industry, make sure they do it properly. That's why we do the RFPs, to give out the requirements. So request for proposals for the public's comments. I also am just heartened to hear when I have a resident of the city talks about you people in the city, and not referencing that person himself is part of the city. When we had the First Lady here, Michelle Obama, come to District 4, and while a shell of a grocery store that had gone through several business hands was now being taken over by another business, being funded by the California Endowment, Michelle Obama came and talked about that we need to make sure there's quality health choices in the city. And in that particular area, based on income based, that qualified as low, very low income, and so therefore she came and reached out with those fundings to make sure that we didn't have positive alternative choices, which I thank them for that. And to have a resident not even acknowledge that they even a resident of the city and call us you people, I take an exception to those comments. I also identify that I heard a resident talk about being long time in the community. I'm a 39-year resident, lived at the same little house I did back in '74 when I first came with my wife and I. And so we're stakeholders, not only for our local community, but for this city as a whole. I also want to acknowledge that a resident brought up the fact about the RFP, the request for proposal, regarding road repairs and resurfacing. I simply specified that because there was residents that lived in the Century Heights community, that RFP also was inclusive of those streets as well. Not that they were not, the RFP was not covering multiple cities throughout the city, throughout the councilmatic districts. But I want to specify because it was the residents from Century Heights that came and stressed that concern. So I want to make sure we get that clarified as well. Also, we're talking about job opportunities as this council has moved forward, and the mayor was with the group with Metro that broke ground to say that we are bringing the Crenshaw LAX line into the community, and that, yes, we are promoting local hiring. I'm here to announce that on Saturday, March 22nd, the Los Angeles Urban League is going to be having a outreach to get on board to start a construction career. I have the flyer here if you're interested, want to see it, but it's scheduled to be at the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Plaza in the room called The Bridge from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., again, Saturday, March 22nd. If you don't have a career in construction, want to learn it, that's an opportunity for you, but if you have the skills, you need to get on board so that way you can act and not react. Be first to get there so that way you can get things happen. In conclusion, I want to identify that on Friday, when City Hall was closed last week, this council is not closed. And so I attended the South Bay City Council of Government. I was blessed to be the immediate past chairman of the South Bay City Council of Government, and we held our 15th General Assembly. And there was many representatives throughout the 16 cities of the South Bay, including 2 representatives from different supervisory districts from the county, non-Kanabis area, as well as Mark Wrigley Thomas. We talked about, and the theme was, the cost of changing environment to the South Bay and why must we care. So we had a number of quality experts talk to us about climate change, what you need to be doing as a city. We also talked about energy efficiencies, including the mobility strategies. Not everyone can afford a gas automobile. We are also looking at alternatives in which you can use a vehicle as a car to go. If someone else leaves it parked, you go and pick up the car, you go and do your little in-town driving to make it available. We're working currently with a organization within the city of Inglewood to make that happen as well, to be able to make sure that affordable alternatives are made available to help reduce that carbon footprint that's in the city. So on that note, I just want to thank everyone for coming. We're glad to hear your comments, but we want to make sure you're factual, just like you expect for us to be factual, be the same. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Dotson.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to start off with, first of all, I'm a 40-year resident of the city. I'm a stakeholder as well. My wife and I and 2 kids lived here for over 40 years now. So when you stand up there and tell me that I don't care, then you don't know who I am. The other thing I'd like to say is I attended, thanks to Mr. Burke, I was invited to the Around the Block Club. And had a certain person been there, they would have heard about the streets. Harry gave a detailed report of how we'll be handling the streets in the First District. And so that you will all know, the First District will have a lot of the streets repaired. There'll be over $1 million spent in spring on those streets. It should be probably the biggest street repair we've had in the First District in quite a few years. So I want to thank this council and the mayor for that. I want to thank District 1 for coming out for that spreading event. And I want to thank a couple of sponsors, Janelle Hartley from HealthNet and Don Harris from Republic Service. And we were able to shred over 2.5 tons of paper was shredded. And my hat's off to the First District because you really came out for that. The other thing I'd like to talk about is that I'm very proud to be on this council. It took me a while to get here. So I take this very, very serious. And I don't want anyone to say that this staff is not working. Because this staff is one of the things I'm most proud of. They accepted me as a new council person, and they've come to my aid at many, many times. If I need any question answered, I could go to any one of these apartments and get my question answered. So I take offense to anyone who says anything about this staff. These people work very, very hard. And they encourage me to work. So please, refrain from talking about our staff. They are very, very good. And thank you all for coming. Look forward to you next week.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of quick notes. One of them is, and the mayor touched on it, none of us are getting any pay raises or salary increases or anything like that, so let's put that to rest. That's not happening. The other thing I want to, it's not true, it's not happening. The other one is I want to acknowledge I had an opportunity this past weekend with Councilmember Morales to attend a luncheon that was put together by the National Latino Peace Officers Association, in which they recognized some of the good work that's being done by the officers here at the Inglewood Police Department and by some of the courageous work that's done by people in our community. So I just want the National Latino Peace Officers Association to know that we appreciate them acknowledging our men and women and the hard work that they do when they put their life on the line every day so that we can have a safe community. I want to acknowledge our Public Works Director, Louis Atwell, and his staff, along with Harry Frisbee. They've done a lot of really good work for us. Specifically, I'm talking about District 2, repairing some of our sidewalks, filling some of the potholes, taking care of some of our trees. They've been very responsive, and I want them to know that I appreciate what they're doing for our community. On that same line, I want to acknowledge the residential sound installation program with the assistance of our Assistant City Manager, Mr. Esparza. I've talked to a few residents who have had their homes done, and they are just very excited about the work, how quickly the work was done, how professional the staff was, and how, you know, it really made a significant difference for them at their residence. So I want to thank you and your staff for your work and your efforts in that area. A gentleman came up here talking about jobs. He wants a job, and I get that. We all get that. And one of the things that I do in my weekly email blast is I have a section that actually deals with jobs, and not only jobs for youth, but also for our seniors, for anybody that wants to get back in the workforce. It's important that we provide for our families, and if there's any way that any of us can assist in doing that, we're doing it. I think that's critical for us to keep our folks employed, specifically here in Inglewood. So if you're not already on my email blast, please let me know, and I'll make sure I add you to that. You can also call my sister, Ramon Quinones, at 310-412-8601. He'll make sure you're added to my email blast. Mr. Clark, I know you're here from Cal State Dominguez Hills to see how council meetings are run. If you have any questions afterwards, please let us know. Reach out to us. We'll be able to answer any concerns you might have. And the council member touched on the farmers market issue. It's something that we're all looking forward to. It will happen. We just need to do it the right way and follow the other processes that are coming up in that, doing that. I want to thank Ms. Zambrano for coming up and talking about how much she does for our community. I've always acknowledged her work over in specifically in the Adobe, the Centinela Adobe that she does out there. I actually was fortunate to have her do one of the presentations for my wife and I when we took a tour there, and it was an outstanding presentation. I do think it's important that those residents, especially if you're volunteering for different organizations, if you find it in your heart to come up and talk about what your group is doing and encourage others to participate and also volunteer and give back to the community. I think that's what's important. That being said, I want to thank those folks like yourselves and others that are here physically attending our meeting, and those that are at home watching it on TV because maybe they're just not able to come out, because it shows that you care. You care about what's going on in our community, and working together, we are going to improve this community. We are going to make it safer for all of us. The future is bright, and let's continue to work together in that direction. That being said, thank you, Mayor, and thank you all for being out here.
Thank you. Councilman Morales?
Just want to start off with some of the stuff that everybody has mentioned. First, also the college student that came up. We get a lot of college students that come in here, sometimes from Dominguez, sometimes from El Camino. And I think what the professors want everybody to see is kind of the process, what the government really is about, and the opportunities that come with it. For instance, all of us were here and elected, very proud to be elected by the residents in our community. I, for one, grew up here, and it's an immense privilege just to be part of the leadership of the city I grew up in. But other than that, it's about showing how the public gets to influence us or has at least the opportunity to speak. We get to see it every day, every week. But it's something that I believe that sometimes I look down and I know that there are moments that the students come in and it probably doesn't show us in our best light. And sometimes that happens. It's like with a family. Sometimes you're just not shown as a best light. But what we do is focus on the results and what's in front of us. And sometimes that gets misread. But I can tell you that Councilman Dudson does a great job for his community, and I've been so impressed with his commitment. And I can tell you that whenever I get called Spanish speakers from District 1, he's on top of it right away. So I just wanted to put that out there. Sometimes we are, quite frankly, just misread, that's all. In terms of streets, I wish we had a magic wand where we could just go up and down the streets of our own district and say this one, this one, this one. There's absolutely no way we can do that. I'm amazed every week. Louis Atwell was mentioned as to how he does so much with so little. I am amazed, especially with this weather that we just got this weekend, to cover up some of those potholes and how fast they did it. It's amazing, really. So I just wanted to point that out. Also with the National Peace Officers Association, in terms of what Councilman Padilla said, a few of our officers were honored, and they were honored for the, I believe it was the Thanksgiving date event where they were shot at a domestic visit. And I was just so impressed at how these young men were just proud of their city, proud of doing a good job, and having gone through that, to really step up and say, hey, I'm proud to be a police officer. It was just, as a non-sworn individual, and the room was full of police officers, I was impressed with the commitment that they have to their job. I just really was, including the two guys up here, that I hear them speak about that all the time. In terms of jobs, I can tell you that one of the ones that Mr. Byrd here had on Regent was basically the result of this council working with the developer to get his commitment on it. Not only did they reach their goal of, I think, 25% local residents, but it was almost 30% Inglewood residents that got on there. And a couple of them were there every day. I believe Mr. Burt was there pretty much every day as well. So those things are happening. The results are there. We can either point at them and be happy with them and see it as progress, or we can choose to look the other way. That's it. But that's happening. That's an amazing result, 30% of Inglewood residents on a job. So I just wanted to point that out and say, everybody, thank you very much for coming out.
The young man from Dominguez, is this your first council meeting? Your second? Okay. Well, first of all, welcome. But I'm going to talk about a few things that were said. If anyone over here looked like they were disinterested, or I think you probably mistook the fact that we basically have some regulars that come to council meeting, and they basically say the same things over and over, and they're overwhelmingly negative, and this is what free speech is all about. But let's talk about a few things. Mr. Matthew, he comes up regularly and he complains about big boy pants, and I don't know what that means, but anyway, we took this city from an $18.6 million deficit not just 3 years ago. And we shrunk that structural deficit down to $7 million. There are a lot of painful things that had to be done to make that happen, including layoffs, downsizing of contracts. We had to live within our budget. So yes, we still do have financial difficulty, and we will have an increase in our retirement costs for our employees next year. So we anticipate that $7 million will grow, but we are making it happen, making it work. There was a discussion about litigation and then what is the city going to do? Well, the city makes decisions, and cities get sued, cities are involved in litigation, and you do things the best you know at the time. Let's talk about the letter I believe that Mr. Matthews is referring to on the judgment. Years and years ago, the city proposed to build a senior center and have a housing component as part of it. And so what the city did was take housing funds from the HUD department, transfer those to the redevelopment agency to pay for the housing component. The city later found out that housing was not a permissible use in this particular project, and so those funds needed to go back to HUD because they weren't going to be used. In the meantime, the governor of the state of California legislator abolished redevelopment, and so redevelopment didn't exist. Well, the city still had the obligation to pay the money back to funds. The city took the money back from the redevelopment agency, since it wasn't agency money, put it in the general fund, and then wrote a check to HUD to reimburse them. The state's position was, well, redevelopment's abolished, so you had no business taking money out of the redevelopment fund. But we said, but we owed that money. That's HUD money. It was owed to them. They asked, well, did HUD ask for it? As though it were permissible to make a diversion of that money to the redevelopment agency. We thought that was wrong. That money belonged to the federal government. It would have to be paid back. And if the government came looking for it, they would be looking for it from the city. So we went to court on that. We thought that's a very logical construct. Well, you have to remember, the courts of the state, they're funded by the state of California. And they suffer budget cuts just like everyone else. And right now, we don't feel that they're the most independent arbiter of these matters. And we had a judgment that said, no, we shouldn't have given the money back to HUD, as though the state was allowed to confiscate $2.8 million of federal money that the city was on the hook for. We don't agree, no matter what anybody says, that that was the right decision, and we will continue to fight it. We have a $13.9 million dispute of money that we put into the project that Mr. Burt worked for quite some time. And it generated a lot of Inglewood jobs, and we felt it was a lawful investment in the city. That project has a daycare, after-school tutoring for students. It allows moderate to low-income people to live in dignity, excuse me, and be proud of raising their children. We felt that that was a lawful investment, and we are in dispute with them. So I disagree with Mr. Matthew when he says the city's supposed to roll over just because the state now is in big trouble and they want to confiscate money. No, we are one of 172 cities that have similar types of disputes. And if we lose, then we'll have to pay, and we'll figure it out. But if we were just to have rolled over and given the state $2.8 million and then paid the federal government $2.8 million when we knew that it belonged to them, then he would be up here saying, how could you do that? Why didn't you stand up for the city? So we do have a situation where we're damned if we do, damned if we don't. So what we are hired to do, employed to do, is to make clear decisions on the best half of the residents of the city, and we will continue to do so. About jobs. The forum generated about 320 jobs, of which about 40% or more have gone to Inglewood residents. And I'm very proud every time I go to that forum and I see people in entry-level jobs learning customer service skills, proud to be part of a big entity. That's good for the city. It's good for, I'm going to give myself another minute. Because there's a lot to talk about. Now, Mr. Fisher said that rumor is, or people say, I don't know how he said it, that we've raised our salaries. Well, he knows, and mostly everyone here knows, that we cannot raise salaries of anybody in the city without a public council action, a staff report that explains it, okay? Now, he knows that. But there's a paper, it's called the Morningside Park Chronicle, and the editor is a guy named Randall Fleming, if that is his real name, and he writes things like that. And that's why I asked Mr. Fisher, because he recommended that we use that paper for advertising city ordinances and whatnot last week. And so I did want him to say that's where it came from, because that's where it came from. In his paper, the recent one, he said that the mayor's salary went up from $9,600 to $13,000 a month, about a 37% increase. Well, everyone in this room knows, should know that's not true. There have been no council raises since I've been on the dais. Since any of us have been on the dais. And so, you know, how that could even be written and then promulgated by rumor and innuendo, I don't understand. So that's not true. Let me say it conclusively. There have been no council raises, and we have people that have been here on the council for 10 years, and there have been no council raises. There are none contemplated. What else did we talk about? Oversight commission meetings. Now we have a successor agency that essentially is the council that is winding down the affairs of the now defunct redevelopment agency, and then there's an oversight board that oversees the decisions that are made by the successor agency, and that is composed of people that represent all the taxing entities, the county, the water district, the community college district, our city. And that board is there to ride herd on the decisions the successor agency makes as we basically dispose of property and wind down the affairs of the redevelopment agency. So all these things that Mr. Matthew talks about, that we have public meetings of the oversight board regularly. The issues where we are in litigation with the state, no, we don't sit up here and talk about them because we're litigating it. And that's not what you do in public. But since we got this decision about the 2.8, I'm glad to talk about it because I think it's ridiculous to say the city was supposed to hide $2.8 million from the federal government and just wait until they came looking for it. I think that's absurd. Then we had someone complain about the homicide rate. You know, we had a bad January. We had 6 or 7 homicides in January. It was a bad January. But the reality is that that's why you take crime stats over a year, because it doesn't average. Sometimes you have bad patches. We had a total of 16 or 17 homicides last year. I think we had 14 the year before. The year before that, we had 20. The year before that, I think we had in the area of 30. Our homicide rate is right now is the lowest it's been since we've been keeping records since 1979. And so because we had a bad month doesn't mean we'll have a bad year, and we would expect that we don't. And so we should believe in our city. People should say whatever they choose to say, but there should be perspective, because you know why? Because these meetings are public, and the world gets some sense of what we are and what we're about by listening to this. And sometimes the dialogue actually is skewed because some people are more motivated to come and talk and say their piece. Mostly people that are happy with things that are going on, they tend to stay home and they talk out in the community. They talk to us and see us at their block clubs. So this environment is not the be-all and all. There are 119,000 residents of the city, some 44,000 registered voters, and you heard from 4 or 5 of them today. So for the purposes of your education, remember that. Understand that. I want to let everyone know that this National Women's and Girls HIV/AIDS Awareness Day is March 10th of 2014, and we're adjourned. Was I rolling?